Good evening. Controversial proposals to allow convicted prisoners to vote in jail could be blocked by Parliament. It follows pressure from the Tory MP for Halton Price and Howden, David Davis. He's teamed up with the former Labour Home Secretary, Jack Straw, to try and stop the move. However, the former prisoner from Hull, who won a landmark legal ruling in the European Court, says the government should stand by the verdict, which paved the way for inmates getting the vote. More now from our political editor, Tim Iredale.
The man on the left is a former prisoner from Hull who believes that inmates should have the right to vote. The man on the right is a former Shadow Home Secretary who strongly disagrees. Today, David Davis teamed up with his one-time opponent, Jack Straw, to argue that Parliament should have a say in such a controversial issue. And many of his constituents seem to agree.
I totally agree with him. You've lost your human rights when you go into prison, as far as I'm concerned.
They shouldn't have the vote. They've had all the... They're doing the time and let them pay the price, that's what I say.
Many MPs from all sides are outraged at the prospect of prisoners serving sentences of less than 4 years getting the vote. But the former prisoner from Hull, who originally fought the case in the European Court of Human Rights, believes MPs have got it wrong. So what is your message to David Davis and Jack Straw today?
Get real. Bring it on.
You're up for a fight?
Yes, I'm up for a fight. Well, I've won it. You know, these people like the government and David Davis and Jack Straw should not be hiding behind public opinion. In fact, the public should be on our side and pointing the finger at them and say, why have you broken the law with this? Why have you cost us £135 million in damages so far on this? And why haven't you done something about it and get us out of this mess?
But with Parliament due to debate votes for prisoners in the coming weeks, the prospect of ballot boxes behind bars may not be a done deal. Tim Iredale, BBC Look North.
Well, I asked David Davis if his attempt to block the move would work.
I think so. We're proposing to put a motion to Parliament telling the European Court, whilst we respect that they've got a duty to curb governments, they've got neither a duty nor a right to overrule Parliament in what is entirely properly a decision for us on a democratic basis in this country.
But the European Court of Human Rights has made this judgment about prison votes several years ago. This stands, doesn't it, now?
Well, no, if you look in the minority report, a lot of very serious judges say in terms, we are not legislators, we should not be overruling the main legislative body of the United Kingdom. They also point out that lots of other countries in Europe have very similar arrangements to ourselves, and there's no consensus in Europe about how to deal with it. So this is a decision for us, not for them. And what will happen is, I think the government will stand aside from this and allow the House of Commons to make a decision by itself. When it does so, I think we'll win very, very strongly. And I think that will allow the government to go back to the court and say, look, whatever you say, and at the end of the day, without Parliament, we can't deliver on what you've asked for. Think again.
This puts you on a collision course with the Justice Secretary, Ken Clarke, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think Ken wants to give rapists the vote any more than you or I do. But you know, he was basically given legal advice from Whitehall legal advisors saying, "Oh, please don't antagonise the court, Mr. Clarke." Actually, if we give him a weapon to argue with, I think Ken will be a good man to argue.
And what about those people, including Mr. Hurst in Hull and others, who say prisoners do have rights and this is their human right?
Yeah, they have rights, but not the right to vote. I mean, people who break the law shouldn't make the law. And I'm afraid that when you commit crimes, you kill people, you rape people, you rob people, then that means when you're convicted, you give up certain rights, the right of liberty and the right to say who represents you. And for as long as you're a prisoner, that's what it should be. That's what I think. That's also, I think, what 80% or more of the British public think.
Mr. Davis, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
David Davis says 80% of the British public like to know what you think about this one. Do you agree with David Davis on this one, or should prisoners be able to vote? And maybe